Hello and welcome to this new moon message for the new moon happening in the sign of Scorpio, right smack in the middle of our week, November 7th, which is Wednesday. It'll be exact at 11:02 a.m. Eastern Time here in the States. And I'll give you the symbol. The Sabian symbol is Scorpio 16. I didn't feel at all with the new moon that a seed symbol, meaning it's at 15 degrees and 11 minutes, the exact point of the new moon. And I've really been getting into the seed energy of things, and that's very scorpionic in its nature, getting down to the truth, like the bedrock. But it doesn't feel to me like new moon energy wants to look at the seed. It wants to look forward. And so I'm giving you the blossoming symbol. And the new moon is a time of really setting your intention for this next 28-day cycle of the moon and all of her phases. And the moon just calls us to really dig in deep. And more, I have this understanding, again, just through my own experience, that's all I can share, is the importance of driving experience from within and not expecting our outside world to be what drives our experience. It's and the moon does really call you to go in that direction, to look inward first, to look at the dark, everything within us and deep within our heart, whether we're talking about our physical body or our mental body or our emotional body, all those parts of your energy field, your spiritual awareness. There is an inward view of that can't really be seen clearly. It's not really tangible, okay? And so I just feel like that the pull of this particular new moon is very intense, and that for sure is my word for Scorpio anyway. And so our symbol for Scorpio 16 is a girl's face breaking into a smile. And those who follow me on Facebook on the new Blue Sky Shop page that I just set up, I've shut down Call of the Wild, and I've moved more fully into Blue Sky Shop. And the readings for this past week, like I've been putting up something, whatever I feel called to put up each day, and they've all been very intense, and they've all pretty much, I think every one of them that involves cards was this Magdalene Oracle deck kept coming up. And that Magdalene Oracle is intense. It's got a scorpionic feel, and I'm not always in resonance with it because sometimes it's too deep and too intense for me as a reader. I mean, I am always, of course, trying to go to the positive view and to be inspirational. That's why I do this work. That's why I put out a lot of free things as much as I can. But what I was really discovering this week is this concept around expression and impression. And I feel that this intro is important, and it's somehow tied to these cards for this week with a girl's face breaking into a smile, because there is a sense of an innocence within us that wants to come forward, and that natural part of you. Think about yourself as a child, and that there was just a natural bubbling up and exuberance for life. And that is such a foundation of my business that I want to bring us back to. And I'll be honest, I want to bring myself back there. Sometimes I take myself far too seriously, and I take this spiritual work, far too seriously. And sometimes that's why I'm bringing up about the Magdalene Oracle, which is one of our cards this week. Sometimes that deck is just a little too much for me. But yet there was a calling to that deep, sort of very intense part of the energy of all of us over this past week, and really I've been feeling it over the past few weeks. And people in different settings of my life have been kind of triggering me off. And I know that we all feel this in some way as we move through our lives. And it's odd because these aren't people that I have anything against. I don't have any people in my life that I consider enemies. Um, I really enjoy the people in my life, even if I don't necessarily see eye to eye with them. It isn't about that for me. But I found myself just getting really sort of angered and like miffed about certain things that they were saying or doing. And I was journaling on it because I really wanted to understand it, because I want to begin to lift some of this triggering behavior and this draw or pull towards the intensity. Not that we don't have a right to feel angry or disappointed or confused or anxious or even fear. We're humans. We're going to feel the whole gamut. But I just don't want to go there as my first response. That's all I'm saying. I don't want that to be the first place that I go, is this triggering of sort of an anger or a perfectionism in me, that people aren't meeting my vision of what I feel is right. And I'm being very vulnerable with you here. I'm not very comfortable talking about these aspects. They're very ugly aspects of me. And I just want to invite all of us. This is the beauty of Scorpio season. It is the deepest we can get. We're digging down and looking at those kind of ugly parts of our being, of our personality, of how we respond in our thoughts and in our feelings and in our actions. And I've really been trying to connect to my own sort of big blue sky self around this, because it's really bothering me these past few weeks. And so I'm getting back here to there is an innocence that I think wants to come forward with this new moon. And also what I felt and was given as I was journaling and doing a lot of contemplation work with my own sense of spirit. You're going to giggle here. And this is where the girl's face breaking into a smile comes in, because this is how my messages go. I was given the image of the old-fashioned cookie press. And I will try to find one of those, and I'll put it as the thumbnail for this particular video so you can see what I'm talking about. My mother has a huge collection of these. They're really pretty. They're like made of, I think, a ceramic of some kind. And they have a certain pattern on the bottom, and you create your cookie dough, and then you press this, and it creates these round cookies. I think you have to cut the cookies, but it creates an impression on the cookie dough. So it's not a cookie cutter. It doesn't cut the dough. It just makes an impression. And this was very specific to me, how this was given. So hang with me here if you wish. But what I was getting is that sometimes we're the cookie press and sometimes we're the cookie dough. We're both, okay? So when we're trying to make a point or trying to, like I'm here delivering these messages to you, I'm the cookie press right now. And so you're trying to express, you're exuding out something, you're bringing your print down. And the beauty of human life is that we really want to make contact and we want to have an impression, because then it helps us to expand, because we notice what happens when an impression is made with another. And this can be one person, or this can be a whole group or a corporation, organization, what have you. So you're making this expression and looking for the impression, and understanding that the people who are the cookie dough, the ones you're looking to make the impression on, they don't they that cookie dough might not always be what I'm calling pliable is the word that came up. Sometimes the cookie dough is been rolled too flat. There's no puffiness to it to make the impression. Sometimes the cookie dough has been left out on the counter for like a week and it's all crumbly and there's no form. You can't even roll it out, like nothing. Sometimes the cookie dough might not be on a type of flat surface and the cookie dough might actually be concave. And I was thinking back through experiences. I remember one of a woman I know who was trying to approach another person that had really been wronged by a group, and this woman was trying to connect and trying to make her feel better, and the woman was having none of it. She literally shunned her in trying to kind of lift her day. Everybody's well-meaning in this circumstance. But that woman who this other was trying to help, was trying to make her feel better. Her cookie dough, the way I was given this, was concave. So sometimes we're expressing, and we got to think about when we're the cookie dough and where are we at. So when we're receiving messages from people, are we in a place where we're all crumbly? My son used to use that word when he didn't feel well. I'm crumbly, Mom. And it's that idea of the cookie dough. Like, have you been left out and you're all brittle and just there's no moisture, there's no tact, there's no pliability. That word is really important for some reason. There's just nothing to absorb the expression. And so it's the call with all of this is to really think about where are we at as either the cookie dough or the cookie press. And if we're trying to jam our message, we see the cookie dough and we got the press and we just keep going bam, 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 and we're like more and more force. I mean, we're testing this out with our son at age 16. This does not work with him, let me tell you. And think about it. You don't get the form, the intended form of the cookie press. You don't see a pattern on that cookie dough at all. It has been all for naught. So the more you keep bam, bam, and like keeping or like bringing it down and like smooshing it into the cookie dough, forcing it, you got to think about the pliability, and both are required to make the product of the cookie. And you want a good product in the end. So the reason I'm bringing all of this up, and I realize I'm being long-winded here, is that just like the girl's face breaking into a smile, we need to come to that place of that innocence within us, and to look. The new moon is calling us to look within first and understand where you're at as the cookie dough. And sometimes we are downright brittle and prickly, and therefore, really think about not taking it personally when the cookie press comes down, because every one of us has the right to be the cookie press. And every one of us is also, meanwhile, the cookie dough in some aspect. We are receiving something, messages, actions, feelings. There are things being exuded upon us, patterns being set upon us. So in both aspects, to not take it personally. And it's why over time with my business, I've grown to a place where now I love, love, love getting feedback, but I've gotten to a point where now I truly don't expect it anymore. And I truly don't look for it. I really had to, that was a big hump to get over. And there you go with the cookie, I'm the cookie press, and expecting that I'm going to get something out of the cookie dough. And really, I just have to focus on, I'm making the expression and I'm bringing it in and I'm lightly touching, putting gentle pressure, and then lifting and moving on. It isn't that I have to keep hammering on it, if you get what I'm saying. So your job is to be really present, or this is what the guidance I was given, to be present in the innocence of being wherever you're at in a situation, and to not take it personally whether your message is not getting the impression that you think it is. You have to think about the cookie dough that you're directing at, that you're coming down on. Is that cookie dough in a place that it is pliable and able to take your expression? Or, and, in the reverse, are you, as the cookie dough, in a place where you can actually receive the expression? Because we've got that coming at us all day, every day. There are more than enough cookie presses in our life. A collection far more impressive than even my mother's, which is darn right amazing. So we have to think about, are we in a concave position, or are we brittle? Have we been left out on the counter too long? Or any number, or are we really pliable? And those times when you are pliable cookie dough, when you're like, give me what you got. Like just taking it in, and you're able to just take the impression without letting it grind all the way down through you, because you remain pliable. You don't attach to the cookie press and like, okay, yep, here we go, we're going together forevermore. It's meant to detach, and then you go on your way, and you've had the impression, and you both go on your way, the expressor and the impression. And again, we're constantly playing both roles. But I think the bottom line message was the fact that an invitation to not take it all so personally when somebody is, and this was important for me as I was getting triggered over, I was like, what is going on with me? And it was just that there is expression going on. I was in a place really of being more in the cookie dough place. And I was being expressed upon over and over by different people, very forcefully in my view. But they did not intend it that way. They did not intend it that way. They were simply making an expression, which is our individual right as a human being. That is our free will. We are able to make expression. But you can choose, as the cookie dough, what form you want to be in. If you want to be there at all, it's totally possible to, say, I can't talk to you right now, or to switch off from that video, or to switch off from that something you're reading or whatever. That too is your right as the cookie dough, that you can choose. But to understand that each plays its part, and to maybe not take it so personally anymore, to not go right to that as your first response of like, you're meaning to press down on me like that. And I'm not such a believer that everybody is looking at it that way. They're simply making their expression. For some people, they're going to reach the pliable cookie dough. And for others, it's like, no go. I'm either in a concave position, or I've been left out on the counter too long and I'm way too brittle, or I've been rolled out too thin, I'm spread too thin, and I can't even hear you right now. This doesn't even matter to me right now. It's a helpful analogy to just think about the cookie dough can be in all kinds of shapes and forms. And the cookie press, the power of the press, is in the speed and intensity with which the expression is made. Is it a nice, slow movement and just gentle pressure to make the impression and leave a beautiful picture in the end? Or is it a level of speed and intensity that comes down and smashes that cookie dough? And we all have those moments in our lives too. It's this huge spectrum. But those are the power triggers. It's the state of the cookie dough, the pliability, and the speed and intensity of the cookie press. And it's just expression and impression, expression and impression. So I'm giving that to you. Hopefully that's helpful. But I feel it's related to a girl's face breaking into a smile, because we don't have to think about this with every single thing we're doing. I'm only giving you this analogy that came to me only for those moments that really perplex you. I'm not looking to put you into your mind into a pretzel over every single interaction that you have. Only the ones that are like they keep getting to you, or you keep feeling like, nope, they're not hearing me, they're not responding to me. Think about a cookie press moment or a cookie dough moment, the ones that keep coming up. That's where you want to sort of, this new moon is giving you an entree into maybe being a little lighter and understanding the purpose of expression and impression, and how we're all in varying states of those two forces, of those two states. And it is downright amazing to think that there actually are many times that the cookie press comes down just right, and the cookie dough is just pliable enough, and it creates a perfect impression that doesn't demean the cookie dough, that doesn't press it out so that all the chocolate chips perhaps go like out of the dough because you pressed too hard. And there still is a yummy taste to the cookie once it has been baked, that there is a perfect outcome from it. It is downright amazing to think that that actually happens a fair bit of the time. But to not take it so personally and so harshly ourselves, depending on the state that we're in and which role we're playing. And I think that lighthearted spirit of the girl's face breaking into a smile, it has everything to do with your communication. That's what I feel this new moon is really about. Deeper drive of the power of communication, and that's not only the outward, it's the inward. It's the messages you give out as well as how you listen and how you process internal to you. It's what I always bring up about the third house, about Gemini, and about Mercury. It's not just da 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 da, all this outward stuff. It's all the processing that we have that is so powerful, and that we have to consider that as a part of everything that is communication and learning in our life. Okay, so there's a light-hearted spirit about this, and that's why the cookie dough came up. And these light-hearted kind of analogies are somehow how I've been wired, even in the midst of Scorpio. And man, it is deep right now, because we only have Scorpio until like the 20th, 21st is when we'll move into Sagittarius. So, we're in a little deep. We're in the muck of Scorpio. I think that's why I've had all the intensity going on a daily basis with the readings. So if you're feeling that this lightheartedness actually can be a part of Scorpio season. I really value this time of year, because you're getting down deep. You're getting to the very bottom of some things that you want deeper truth. You want to build integrity around this area. You want solid foundations. Okay? Solid foundations. That's what we really want. And we want to be compassionate caregivers for one another and ourselves. And that's also tied in. So let's get going with the cards. Very long-winded intro here. So the first card up is Magdalene Oracle. I was like, oh, yep. I knew this was going to come up. I love these cards, but they're just, there is such a depth to them that sometimes I literally don't have the horsepower to go there. So let's see. Again, a girl's face breaking into a smile. And don't forget the cookie dough and the cookie press. Okay. All right. Past lives comes up. All right. So this speaks to certainly I am a believer in past lives with my readings, and I see it in astrology. There's various indicators in an astrological chart that talk about past life energy and wisdom. And but I also want you to think about this is also within this life. Remember, we're talking about a girl's face breaking into a smile. This speaks to that young part of you, and when a gender and a particular age, whether it's a girl, a boy, woman, man. Sometimes elders are referenced in the Sabian symbols. It's always speaking to, in this case, girl, feminine energy, young hearted, light hearted, feminine energy of being able to receive, of being able to take in a situation and receive it without there being this immediate reaction. Okay? So to me, when I'm looking at this, I'm not going to the deep past. I'm not going to past lives. I'm going to the past you that existed. And with this being a girl, I'm really thinking, I'm getting a vision of like the 7, 8-year-old version of you, where you were in the school system. You were starting to learn, you were starting to be amongst other people, learning to be with peers, all those kinds of things, finding your way. But there still was a light-hearted spirit about you. You were beginning to figure out, how do I take this information? And it's well before all that difficult energy of age 12, 13. Do you remember that time in your life? My mother and I talk about that a lot. And like, I was really cruddy at that age. And that's the energy I feel with this. I don't feel as deep as past life. Because every time I bring that up, I'm hearing like, oh, come on, we don't need to go that deep. And it's this light-hearted spirit that wants to come forward. Like, do we really have to go all deep into the core of like who you've been over many lifetimes? And Scorpio right now and with this new moon doesn't want to go quite that deep. Like, let's lighten up just a little bit and let's go back to you. Let's talk about this life. You came here to this earth to live this life. And a lot of people, myself for sure included, a lot of people in spirituality circles love to go very, very deep. And I mean, I'm whole hog into that, believe me, with astrology. And also, I've had a past life regression. There was a time I was thinking of having another one. I love all that stuff, like I started out this whole journey like talking to a medium and loved like all of the stuff that would come up from ancestors, but I'm not feeling that from this Scorpio new moon. It's a new day for Scorpio in this particular cycle. It just really wants you to be present. Much like the girl's face breaking into a smile, it's that very innocent part of you that is just right here, right now. And can we just leave whatever has occurred? Can we take it and maybe put it in a box, or at least gather it all up and put it over here? Can we just put it over there? Like, if there's dust that collects on it, that's okay. Because I just feel like it feels very heavy to me. Whatever it is that is coming up in Scorpio season for you, this new moon, the promise of a new cycle beginning within the sign of Scorpio. This is about just a new awareness around when I say intensity, when I say that deep, dark, like, and I don't mean dark bad, okay? I mean deep down. I mean kind of hidden, that kind of yucky parts of your personality, like I was saying in the intro. I don't like talking about that part of myself at all, but there's these parts that just want you to be a little lighter with it. Like let the flow go a little more and like get a little more bouncy and understand that it's okay if in a given moment that you can set your eyes upon something, and that what if it could be that that could just light you up and send you on a whole new path, a whole new ray within a rainbow, that it totally moves you in a direction that you didn't imagine. How could it be that you put your eyes upon something and it changes the rest of your life? I mean, that's the girl's face breaking into a smile. There is a big movement here towards a lighter, more forgiving part of who you are. Because we hold a lot of this depth, and it's like weight. I literally, with this card, am feeling this weight of like, oh, I have to, this is just how it is with me. Just like I was saying in the intro, I have this trigger and I keep going to this particular output from me. It's from me. And this girl's face is breaking into a smile because she's taking in something from her world or realizing something from within, and it then appears in a physical form on her face. And it's like we actually do have the ability to set down all that baggage and to say, you know what? I want to be lighter. I don't want to carry this with me anymore. And that's part of your free will. Whether you want to become more pliable cookie dough or you want to become a gentler, kinder cookie press. You want to do the job of a cookie press, which is to lightly touch down on the pliable cookie dough. And sometimes that cookie dough is within ourselves too, by the way. And to make an impression, but to not squeeze the life out of it. And sometimes we do that just by this baggage that we carry about our reactions, our triggers, our trying to understand it all. There wants to be a lighter energy. I just can feel that, okay? So think about how that applies for you. Okay, for those of you who chose the Way of the Horse deck, this is the second card choice. This is by Linda Kohanov, and so I really love to read the entry from her book for this. And you have Merlin's Spirit, which is 27, which is 9 in numerology when we add that up. That's a real culmination point, and it's coming to a greater sense of compassion. So the themes of this are redemption of the masculine, mutual transformation, and the new hero's journey. Two stallions, father and son, meet on common ground. The heart between them gathers strength as they share the breath of life. Hope springs from the depths of an ancient wound, causing even the stones to weep. The gift of this message is power and gentleness find a new way to coexist, balance, and finally heal the immense injustices perpetrated by and on the masculine body, mind, and spirit. The challenge is true masculinity has been twisted, tortured, and betrayed by a culture of conquest and consumerism. It's hard to fathom what a peaceful, healthy form of virility might look like. To have any hope of changing the world, men and women must reevaluate and re-socialize the active masculine principle within their own families and their own psyches, a task requiring significant soul-searching and imagination. So I feel with this card immediately it is about that cookie press part that I mentioned in the intro, that expression part of you. And all the while I was reading that, my heart started to feel like heavier, heavier, heavier. There is such a sense of you've done me wrong. I have to press, and I have to let you know that this is not okay anymore. And that too can be an imbalance, It feels like the push wants a lightening. again, a girl's face breaking into a smile is our symbol for this new moon. Can you invite in a meeting of the minds? The younger part of you with this more wise, wisdom filled part of you that you gain so much wisdom over time. Or this could be you with somebody you view as younger or less evolved or less experienced somehow. This card to me is always about a meeting of, yes, there may be an energy that is older and wiser and somehow more evolved, but then there can also be this young-hearted spirit, and there is just as much value in that. Wisdom and experience is not the whole of the picture. Just like with the cookie press and the cookie dough, the press is nothing without having a form upon which to press upon. And the cookie dough could not have the beautiful symbology that is pressed upon it without the cookie press. The expression and the impression are both needed. And that is the essence, actually, of masculine energy and feminine, the receiving of the impression, and then you take from it what you will. So I really feel this sense of like maybe a lighter spirit when it comes to your expressing that cookie press part of you, like a meeting of the minds. That's what keeps coming up. That it's okay to not always have to be in this place where you have to press and you have to make it known what you want, and that you feel like somebody is, and it might even be within yourself, that you're not allowing yourself, to slow down in that vision, or to just gently touch upon it and then to back away, and other people have to have their say. Okay, it feels like it's that masculine component, which we all have, whether we're female, or male. We all have that part of us that wants to express. And I do just feel like it's an express because I have been held down too long. But is that then just fire meeting fire? And are we not considering where we can be the pliable cookie dough sometimes, and to allow maybe people or within ourselves to have a say, and then let it be? Because remember, the girl's face breaking into a smile, this speaks to your feminine energy. And we can actually have some feminine energy that is pretty nasty at times too, where we're just going to, lay down and we're going to take it in, and we're going to sit back and like with our wise inner, high priestess or hierophant from the tarot self, and kind of look back and like, yeah, you just go ahead and do that thing. There can be that kind of very judgmental part that comes out within us too, when we do sit back and we take the impressions and we look through these eyes and, like, yes, I'll just sit here and take it all in. It's sort of an above it all kind of feeling. And that's not balance either. That's not balance either. And so that's its own feminine version of firepower when it turns into like judgment. And masculine is this firepower that just rolls over everybody, that just like the cookie press is like, wow, and just, I'm going to keep jamming it. So it feels like balance here to me. And in that expression and impression and how you play with those. And that's the word though, is it's play. Like when we're making cookies, this is play, this is lightheartedness, and oh my God, they taste so good when they come out of the oven. And maybe we sneak a little of the cookie dough before it's been cooked. It's your face. It's like, it's things getting happier, not stones weeping beneath your hooves here. Okay? Lighter, much more lightness. I feel that. And now for those of you who picked this card, this is from the Flower Therapy deck. And this is, you are a spiritual teacher. And this is the crocus. And I want to mention here that I didn't mention this in the intro, but our symbol of Scorpio 16, that is the first symbol in the 46th five-fold series. The Sabians are broken into sets of 5. And so those numbers, 1, 4, and 6, add up to 11. And 11 in numerology is about being a master teacher or inspirational leader. And that is clearly important for your reading. And this says, share your wisdom with others. You were born to teach. And I love this deck because it has the light-hearted spirit that matches a girl's face breaking into a smile of our new moon. There is a lightheartedness with flowers. They have a very serious energy and power in how they rise up through the soil, and especially the ones like tulips and daffodils that are rising up through that early spring, still somewhat frozen ground. And with the crocus, what I'm drawn to with this, there's a strength with it, and you barely see, I think it's called the stamen in the middle, but it's yellow in color, and you barely see it here. And so part of your lightheartedness, and it's like an invitation here to you to think about how you impact other people when you choose to just know, within yourself, this is that yellow stamen, that's your solar plexus. You have a strong sense of self. And when you bring that forward in a way that is kind of fun-loving, maybe you weave some wit into your communications with other people and in how you hear things, like a bunch of people, let's say at work, might hear something in a certain way and you're like, I didn't see it that way. This is how I heard it. Do you know how powerful that is? That is beyond powerful. When you have the guts, that yellow stamen, it's barely peeking out from behind the purple, which is a very fun-loving and spirit-driven kind of part of you. It's barely peeking out because it doesn't want to be the masculine energy. Remember, I was talking about the cookie press and the cookie dough. It doesn't want to be that part that's like out in the open, like, hey, this is the way it is, and you're all wrong. And if you'd only see it my way, this is a much more fun-loving part of you that is coming forward, that wants to be developed starting with this new moon in Scorpio. It's like, yeah, but what if we saw it this way? Or what I saw it this way? This is what I heard. Or to have a completely different take on something that you just know is right in your gut. It feels right to you. And that it's okay. Remember, there is expression and there's impression. It is okay, and it is your free will right as a human being to be able to make that exertion yourself, but to do it in a fun-loving way and in a wit-filled way, very lighthearted, about bringing smiles to people's faces, not this doom and gloom and serious nature, and like bringing us back to that, like being loaded down like a donkey, like a pack mule with all of this baggage. That, this is what this must mean because I have this. And I gotta say here, this is how I felt when I first heard the word cancer attached to my name. And that is heavy energy. And all of you have stuff that's going on that is heavy energy too. These are big patterns and ways of being and meaning and definition of words have a lot of emotional baggage that gets tied to it. But you have something different to bring. And this is kind of like when you're at somebody's house, a friend's house, and their cute little like 4-year-old peeks out from behind, like a little, is playing like hide and seek, and you don't even know that hide and seek is going on, but she just wants to engage, like, you know, this little part of you that wants to be like that little imp that gets people's attention. And actually the beauty and the power of that role that you could play is to get people distracted long enough so that they get off the tirade, they get off the rat wheel, they get off this like endless story that has to do with woundedness and has to do with pain and has to do with somebody done me wrong, and I'm going to have my way, and I'm going to get back at them. And I know all of that is, again, free will is what it is. Everybody can have that. But you, my friend, you're the inspiration that can just be that little imp that's like, hey, you know, and like runs away. And you're so magnetic that people will want to run with you. They'll want to be like, where are you going? I'm coming to get you. Gonna do a tickle attack, you know. And before you know it, you're engaged in a game of hide and seek, and you're more lighthearted than you ever thought you could be. Because you came over to your friend's house to complain about the fact that your ex-husband did this or that. All of a sudden, all of that disappears. That's the power of wit, of play, of a simple smile, of seeing, of feeling. Can you feel when a smile just comes up across your face because either you gaze upon something that makes you remember your innocence, that makes you remember the beauty of this world? You know, does that feeling is so innate within you, and this is a skill that the new moon is like, please, it's time. Can you go there? Can you go there just a little bit? Because that stamen has really got my attention. Physically, you can just barely see the yellow, but you can see the real strong reflection of it in that fun purple color, which is so childlike. And that will just automatically, it will be reflected in your world without you having to come out and be Miss Bold or Mr. Bold. You can just bring your wit, your sense of fun and play, and a smile breaks out. And it's amazing when you walk through hallways in a place and you just look at people and you smile a little bit and say, good morning. And you don't have to engage in conversation. It's amazing how it just opens people up, okay? You have something big to give there. So there we go, everybody. There are your readings for this week. And if you'd like a personal reading with me, you can visit bluesky-shop, shoppe.com. And I will look forward to seeing you next week.